Welcome to Don't Die Before You're Dead. I am your host, Mary McCartney, and this is the place where we talk about all things related to living the life you were meant to live. How are you doing with that? How's it working out for you? Some people really struggle, and other people seem to know how to go about it. Maybe they started earlier than we are. Maybe they're still looking to do it. Today's guest is Patti Pokorchak, and Patti has had an exceedingly interesting life in the fact that she has done lots of things. Patti is an eclectic female. That's her resume, a female startup with tech, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but she turned into a farmer. She's written a book about that, The Accidental Farmer, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say about that. And then she moved back to the city and has become a sales and marketing consultant with all the experience that she's had. And that's why I've asked Patti to come and join us today, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. Patti has done all kinds of things, and you know, she's got a lot to share with us. So without further ado from me, welcome, Patti, and I'm so delighted to have you here.
Thanks, Mary. And may I add that most of what I've done has been legal. Most.
Oh, well, doesn't that open a door? Maybe we can get to that a little bit later after we've kind of warmed up a little bit. But that's good to know. So you started off quite sort of in the mainstream, didn't you? So your education, formal, you kind of joined the mainstream, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Then what happened?
Well, with a name like Pokorchak, I'm the only Patti Pokorchak in the world. So with a name like that and being left-handed and just always driven to succeed and go faster, I was good with numbers, so I decided I was going to be an accountant until I literally played with a computer. I say in the 70s, which is why I say I was born with a computer in my pocket, because I am really that old. It changed I changed my major to business computing. I was one of the first professional females. I was still a teenager with a 3-year diploma in business computing hired by IBM. And that was my finishing school, is how I saw it. But I knew I wasn't a corporate person. I'm a born and bred entrepreneur, but they forced me to learn to sell, which thank God they did. I'm very happy for that. But I made a lot of money, 25 years old, 50 grand in the bank, and
Wow.
see ya, IBM.
I can feel people already saying, wow, that's amazing at 25. Most of us are still kind of going, what was it we're going to be? So you had you started out early in that tech field.
Well, yeah, I was one of the first females. I mean, it was a brand new, when my brother in 1971 decided to study computer science, it was like sci-fi, like nobody knew what it was. But I was actually disappointed at IBM, where the ultimate goal was to get into sales, make your 100% club, and go on this trip. And it turned out to be literally a pig fest. You know, I was one of 100 women out of thousands of men, and it was just, I was a cute little blonde. That was it. I thought, if that's the ultimate to life, I thought there had to be more. And that was my turning point of, don't forget, I was extremely shy.
Hard to imagine.
Hard to imagine, I know. I was scared of my own shadow. I'm not going to go into my backstory, but I didn't have a lot of parental support. In fact, it was the opposite. It was abuse. But that's what led to my driven personality. So I'm kind of thankful for that. I've gotten over enough therapy. I've gotten over the trauma.
It's kind of like the silver lining almost, because that's who we become due to where we've been, right?
Exactly. And I always say therapy works. If you can see the close-up on, say, YouTube, I have fingernails, which I got at the age of 40-something, because therapy works. That's all I will say.
Okay, good to know.
You have to actually go out and buy, but fingers are always with you. And if I can quit biting my nails, anybody can get better.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but so even though I was scared of my own shadow, at the age of 25, I had a choice to make. I had this dream life. I had the career at IBM. I was progressing faster than their little ticky boxies could keep up with my raises and promotions. I had a stockbroker boyfriend, I had a sports car, the trendy duplex, tons of money, but I wasn't happy.
Oh, well, that's really key. People think that all those things will make them happy.
No.
It's an illusion.
It is an illusion. And I'm a first generation Canadian of German, Ukrainian heritage. I'd spent a summer in Europe and my desire was to go back and spend a longer period of time. So I was finally ready, and I had to do it on my own because girlfriends just never worked out. It just never, they went one year, I went the next, they went one year, I went the next. It was like, do or die. And I wasn't going to die. I was not going to die. That dream inside of me. And I was not meant to be married at a young age, put it that way too. So despite having the boyfriend going, yeah, marry me. Oh, no.
You had other ideas and things you wanted to do.
Exactly. I had another 20 odd years until I became engaged and married, and now happily divorced. So it was a good guy, and I had the money, I had no dependence, and it was just like, let's go. We're going to do it. Go one-way ticket, and just a sense of adventure of when you travel on your own, you have nobody to behold to. And that's where I joke that I have multiple personalities, because I would get up in the morning and go, hey, so where do you want to go today? Well, I don't know. It's been pretty gloomy. Let's go find the sun. Literally, that was my direction.
Most people would think that it takes a lot of money to live the dream that they want to live, and they feel stifled because they're not in that kind of financial position. And you were, and you took advantage of it. You didn't stay trapped. You recognized that within you there was a greater life to live. Some people might be really happy doing the corporate thing forever, but we need to recognize really our one life to live. Who are we and what is it? How would you suggest somebody that really doesn't feel that they're financially able to do that? Like how would they start off to even think about it? Should they do that?
Yeah, I mean, think of what you're paying in your mortgage, your rent, your covering costs, your clothes, you're going out to see friends. You usually typically spend, I know my spending is between $3,000 and $4,000, more towards $4,000 a month minimum. And take that, and supposing you didn't have to pay rent, you didn't have to, go out and see friends and go out for dinner and expensive, treat yourself to expensive things for your home. You take that money and it goes a long way. It's assuming that I was living in, I don't do hostels. I don't like hostels, but I'm living in, bed and breakfasts, sometimes with an ensuite, a lot of times not. But of course, at that time, my budget was about the equivalent of about $3,000 a month, which is pretty affordable. Most people have, a pension or savings. We spend a couple of months on the road if they can sublet their place or, do an Airbnb and just get rid of it for a couple of months. And it's that burning desire of not wanting to get to my 90s and go, I wish I'd done that.
Right.
As I say, the regrets of the dying. I don't wish I'd worked anymore. That's for sure. I wish I had been more outgoing. I mean, I look back, and it's been 40 years. And I just wish I'd been more outgoing. I just let people come to me, which I was lucky. I was a cute blonde. So I never lacked for male attention, put it that way.
Well, that's kind of the nice, the side benefit, if you will, in that regard, because people would be willing to help you out and they'd see perhaps a little bit of vulnerability there. I think generally speaking, though, there are a lot of really good people in the world that would be more than willing to be helpful in circumstances. Was that your experience?
Oh, for sure. Again, I'm a total mechanical klutz. I bought an old junker for $1,000. It got stuck a few times in some communist countries, and I would just go, hey, no, I have a universal sign language. I would just say, I'm pointing. I go, you, Mr. Truck driver, come and help me. It doesn't work. And somehow through sign language, it's like he fixed it. Or I got a bunch of guys to push start me. I was really lucky. I just related this to my girlfriends on the weekend about, I was in Hungary, and there's not, this is still a communist country, and there's not a gas station on every corner, and I was running out of gas, so I get to this little village, and so this couples knew I was low on gas. They go, hey, we'll take you on a shortcut to the next village. And they take me down this deserted road through the forest. I'm going, okay, exactly. That's I'm going, oh, what have you done now? What have you done now? They know I'm going to run out of gas soon. And when we came out of that forest and into the village and I saw the gas station, I was like, whew,
Yes, yes.
tell the tale. And you're right, there were so many good people out there.
Mhm.
I was really lucky. My dad gave me his guardian angel to sit on my left shoulder here and look after me. And he has
Oh,
for over 40 years. So
yeah.
I've been super, super lucky. I've traveled a lot on my own, from Scotland to Greece to North Africa, Togo, Africa,
Well,
Haiti.
I did say you had an interesting life, so you've seen a lot of the world. Fear is a big thing that keeps a lot of us grounded in our spots. And we
Yeah.
might not be happy. We might recognize we're not happy, but it'll be the fear of change. Change is not a good word for a lot of people. And yet, balance that against the regrets that you talked about. I mean, the don't die before you're dead is all aimed at people who sit around and do not very much once they've retired, and it's almost like they're waiting for the next step. Well, it could be the next step is passing away. What do we do in the meantime? Is it ever too late to get out there and do something?
No, and you just sort of struck a memory in me, which is, leaving my whole life behind, 25 years of being in Toronto, big city, my friends, my family. That was a major decision. What happened at the end of my year of travel, where I had sort of made a community for myself in Munich, and I'm half German, so I picked up the language. After a year, when I needed to go back to work, I was like, Canada, know that really well. I don't want to go back home. So taking the decision to stay in Germany, find a job, find an apartment was so less frightening and so easier to do that it was just natural. So yes, it's frightening the first time, but then once you're into, I have no comfort zone, really. I don't, I've changed so much. I moved cities, of countries. Illegal immigrant, that's the illegal part there.
Okay, I get you.
When I bounced between countries for a while with a German driver's license, British car, and a Canadian passport, and officially I lived nowhere, but oh boy, I juggled that. So but making that big decision is, once you make that, and the only way to Tony Robbins said that, was the only way through fear is massive action. And there's one thing I've always been good at, action. It's like, okay, call it the dreaded P word. We got a plan, but plan to get out of debt, plan to save money, plan to do it, and give yourself a deadline. And
so when do you start? When
now.
should you start? Like, some people might be, my listeners probably are maybe 45 and up. They might still have some children at home. Do you think that some people just put things off too long before they think about this? That they don't prep for it, they suddenly get to a space, okay, got your book, do tell.
Accidental farmer. I became a farmer at age about 47.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I blame it on the internet. So 21 years ago, I met my now ex-husband online. It was back in the early, I've always been a pioneer. And so I was living in Ottawa. I had spent 12 years in Ottawa. I was fed up with Ottawa. He lived in the country. I'd never lived in the country. So I'm always up for new experiences. So why not? We had this beautiful house. We ended up with 100 acres. I had a green thumb. I wasn't a millionaire by 25, after 25 years in technology. I had, scaled and started a software company now in its 30th year. It was just time to do something new, so I became a farmer. I knew nothing about farming. I'm the biggest city slicker in the world. I know nothing except rocket science is rocket science. Everything is learnable. There's nothing. So I immersed myself in my way of sales is to be curious and ask questions. And when I became a garden center owner, I was curious and asked questions. So why are you buying that plant? And where are you going to plant that thing? And where does it grow best? And you just ask and ask and ask.
So it sounds like your clients were teaching you the business. You knew the sales and they knew the product.
That's right. And I knew how to market. I knew how to, it was down to earth gardens. Here's my flyer. This is my backyard. Down to earth gardens for busy, novice, and black thumb gardeners, because I was a novice gardener.
You're
So
right.
I couldn't pretend to be a plant snob and say, oh, this is the Latin name for this. It's like, I have no effing idea what the Latin name is. I don't know. A pink thing, you know?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
wear those pink flowers. So I had this really safe place for black thumb gardeners to come. It was home of the unkillable plant. And so I knew how to tell.
That's what I need, the unkillable plant. That's what I need to go shopping for.
So the scary part is when you open up a garden center, they think you know about plants, so they ask you to speak. And that's how I actually got over my fear of speaking. By talking on something I didn't know anything about. So there's hope for everyone there.
Well, instead of calling you eclectic, we should just call you fearless.
No, I was full of fear, absolutely full, but I didn't let it stop me.
Okay, good point.
Look at when you look at the alternative is to not live.
Right, exactly.
Right? And that is even scarier. So that was my point back when I was 25, is I had the chance to keep on doing the status quo, which to me was, oh my God, married, 2.2 kids, white picket fence, poke my eyes out. That was not appealing to me at all. I was never, I hate to say it, I don't like babies, but I like kids, like 2 kids. Yeah, I'm not a baby person.
You're not a baby person. Well, not everybody is. Yeah, no, it's knowing who we are. So those of us, like myself, actually, with 4 kids, and now they've all left home. You know that I'm doing this cross-Canada trip next year. So am I fearful? No. Am I cautious? Yes. I think it's a big challenge. And a lot of people are kind of like, wow, that's really something. It doesn't have to be that big a dream, though. Like there's a lot of people who just might want to be more engaged and maybe even just start something. You're a business coach. You have a lot of people that you're a serial entrepreneur. You help a lot of people who are becoming entrepreneurs. Is there a large percentage of people who in their later life have kind of come out and said, I've always wanted to own a business?
Yeah.
I don't know how to start.
Tons. The rural community where I started my farm business was full of what I call urban refugees, because it was a pretty little village, Canada's prettiest village, Merrickville, and a lot of them were, in their 50s. They had the government pensions or the big company pensions, and they were making their passion, their hobbies profitable. Because if you don't make money, then it's just a hobby. But if you take your passion and you want to share that knowledge, that output, like I had a lady do buttons, those custom buttons that you.
Oh, the button makers, yes. Yeah, okay, like vote for so and so.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Another one was a porcelain painter. A lot of artists. Somebody always wanted to run a bed and breakfast, and my advice to her was, either buy them one in the town, or we have to figure out how to make this appealing. And
how to create it.
Yeah, there's always a market, but you have to figure out what your market is, and it might not be the one that you think about. If you keep hitting your head against the brick wall, you want to run this thing, and she became as busy as she wanted to be, and that was the biggest praise I could get from her. Right. It's just because when I started. So I have an MBA in marketing. I now have 40 years of sales experience, being the not born salesperson. But when I helped start and run a tech companies, we didn't have any money, so it was guerrilla marketing. Like bare bones. We ran a multi-million-dollar company on not a lot of marketing budget, because it was a Brit. He didn't believe in spending money on marketing.
Just the shoestring. Well, there's a lot of people that feel that way, and yet we do need to do that, right? People won't know you're around. Yeah.
I say use more of this, be more creative. That's why I'm saying I'm full of wacky ideas. So for example, in the garden business, is I would throw a huge garden party in August, the August long weekend, when you think people are at cottages, and we thought, well, if they're not at a cottage, they want to find a city escape. So I would get 500 people show up for 3 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
And just create it. And I sold thousands of dollars worth of plants. So I knew how to sell and market. But I knew nothing about farming, but I realized that every business, you have to master how to sell and market your own products.
Oh, for sure.
You don't need to, and so you have to get over that. I'm not a salesperson, because if you're in business, you are in sales.
Well, we're all salespeople because every relationship we have based on selling somebody that we are compatible, if you will, and to continue to do that. So yeah, selling is one of those, well, for sale, that's kind of like a 4-letter word for sure. So people that are going to be sort of engaged in the empty nest and started thinking, well, you know, I really don't see myself staying where I am. It was just sort of maybe a stopgap kind of job. Some people, you've got an MBA in marketing or in business, and you know, there's a lot of money invested in that kind of formal education, but there are some people that have not got the major degrees, and they're just looking and saying, like you did, what's more? What other kind of things do you think that people might be dreaming about doing, but might be hesitating? And just to, you know, how do you grab the bull by the horns? You said planning is a big thing.
Yeah, and I'm a huge one on manifesting. Is when this is something that's come about, and I use it in my own, how I find my my dream boyfriend or husband, I suppose, and jobs as well, is manifesting, which is you got to know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's taking a piece of paper, and actually, if you don't know what you want, is figure out what you don't want, cross that off, and that's usually the opposite, is usually what you do want.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I didn't want corporate, which meant I wanted small businesses.
What's the opposite, right?
So
I can't remember who it was that said it. You know, my memory isn't, you know, they say the memory is first to go, but they said that the hardest question that people actually have to answer is, what do you want? That people generally just don't know. The paper and pen idea is a great idea, but do you think people actually will step out of their world long enough to actually ask those questions of themselves? Are people really finding out who they really are, what they really want before their time is, well, we all have time limits, right? That's a fact.
I forget which Greek philosopher said, but the unexamined life is not worth living. And I found for myself, it was the end of my 30s, my first serious live-in relationship, that I started my personal development journey, which has been going on for more than 25 years now. And, you know, because when I studied business in the 70s, it was just like you had no feelings. It was all about the money. It was like being like a Kevin O'Leary of like, I win, you lose kind of attitude.
Okay.
Over the years, I've never been like that. I've always been, let's make it a 4-way win, a win for the company, the employees, the suppliers, and the customers, and for me. So it's got to be, because I don't want to do business otherwise. I want to sleep well at night.
Mm-hmm.
But the knowing what you want is like, how else what makes you get up what makes you jump out of bed and be excited for the day, unless you know there's something to do? Because I'll give you an example. Having sold to the federal government in Ottawa for, you know, Canada's capital for years, is I go into a cubicle and there was a calendar and they were marking off the days, and you go, what are you down, marking off days to holidays? You go, no, to retirement.
Oh my word. Yeah.
11 years, 3 months, and 2 days.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
Exactly. And my point is when you think about TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Yeah. And on Sunday night, you dread Monday mornings. You're wishing 5/7 of your life away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Hump day. Oh my God, I'm halfway through this horrible week.
So it's a mental attitude that's really it's kind of killing us, really. If people are engaged in that. Now, we get out of bed in the morning because we have jobs to go to that will pay for the things we think we want. Do we really want those things? Are those the satisfying parts?
Yeah, but the point is that if you spend 5/7 of your life wishing it was over, what happens when that life is over? What happens when your work life and you finally get your pension? Yeah. What happens then? You have nothing to live for, basically. And so you're surrounded by things. You've got the 3,000 square foot house with the 10 bedrooms and bathrooms and cleaning. You want that. What pleasure do you when you think back in your life? It's the experiences with your friends and family that really matter. I think being a bit of a gypsy and having moved countries and cities, is I don't put much worth on personal or material possessions. It means almost nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Things can be replaced, people can't be. And experiences are really what matters. And that's what makes it interesting. I go, hey, so I got a new dress. It's like, woohoo, what about you?
Yeah, it's not great conversation in that regard, right? So the people who are looking at doing the collection of things rather than experiences, what do they share when they get together with other people? There's, like you said, there's not a whole lot to talk about. And, if your life was full of the interesting experiences, like there are some people who live through us vicariously. They're not doing anything. So they're hungry for somebody to come along that has been doing something, and they kind of think, oh, wow, you're an interesting person, like you said. And they want to glean some experience from you because they don't have any of themselves. At what point do you think people are going to realize that they've missed it, that they coulda, shoulda, woulda stuff,
It's never too late. It's never too late. I have one of my best friends in her mid-70s. After almost 50 years in one city, and she was right here, she packed up and moved 12 hours away by plane.
12 hours by plane.
Yes, exactly.
That's quite a change, right?
Different language, different culture. It's if it's in your heart, if you're yearning for something, is that find out, maybe it's, when somebody goes on a spa retreat for a week, with a bunch of other women and other friends, not exactly solo travel on your own for 3 months or 6 months or a year, but it's a start. And if you can go once, you can go again. And it's just, like I was saying, is you got to sort of prime the pump, is do something on your own, whether it's a day trip or just a weekend away. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It can be Niagara Falls. I mean, Niagara Falls is a great place. I'm going south.
Oh, it is. Yeah, we should be advertising for them, right? That's true. I mean, if you're just sitting at home doing nothing, then every day becomes the same. I mean, at least you don't have, the 5 days a week and hump day and thank God it's Friday and all that sort of thing. But, every day becomes very much the same. And then, but the family experiences, the friend experience, I mean, those are the things that make us human. They're the things that make us to give back. Now, Patti, you know me well enough to know that I also talk a lot about volunteering. Yeah. So if people don't have the finances and the things to do to maybe enhance their life and they don't want to do that, then we get to our age and we have a lot of experience. You're here sharing your experience and your knowledge, I'm hoping that others will be inspired and say, hey, she's right, I can do this. And so with volunteering, there's so many organizations that need your background, your experiences, your history, your wisdom, your lessons learned, that if you don't even have anything else, maybe you can enhance somebody else's life and give back.
Yeah, there's if you want an exotic trip, but you're bored of lying on a beach, there's voluntourism, or I don't know what they call it, but there's relatively for about $1,000 or $2,000 a month, or like you pay for your airfare, and for another $1,000 they cover your room and board, and you can go and teach people literacy skills. Like even if you know nothing, and nothing else, is you teach ESL, English as a second language, or teach them some math skills, or teach them how to plant things, because there's a lot of avid gardeners out there. So it's teaching, and it's you can experience a new culture. You can get some language lessons if you've always wanted to learn Spanish, which is on my bucket list. It's like you go down there and you learn by doing. I mean, that's how I learned German, was on the job, basically. That in a dictionary,
Well, it's the application process, right? I mean, as a former teacher, I know that we taught a lot, at least we hoped we did, but unless they apply it, it's not really learned. So until people actually, and you said it yourself about putting things into action, we need to stop sitting around thinking about some of those things and start looking and saying, how can we actually do that? So information tends to be free, right?
Oh yeah, there's so much. When I go back to say the manifesting is one thing I just wanted to be clear about with the sheet and paper is
Right?
write down like in exquisite detail exactly how your perfect day would look like. What does your perfect dream vacation look like? What is that's going to put you a little bit on the edge, not, the all inclusive, trip to Cuba. That's not going, I mean, depends. And if you stay in a 3-star, you might get a little taste of real Cuba. You go to a 5-star, you could be anywhere in the world. So
Right.
be really, really detailed of what exactly you want and just start it. Maybe maybe you only get 5 points today, but keep it like a journal. Like just keep adding to it. It's like, because you'll go, oh, I really, really hate the Canadian winters, which, says everybody. It's like, so how can you design a life where you get to go travel? I mean, it used to be really cheap just to get in your car and drive 20 hours and hit a place where you didn't need snow boots and mitts,
Right.
to the States. Now, with COVID, the pandemic,
course.
it's different, but still, you can go out to the West Coast, which is, a lot of people are doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being, what are your options? What are you comfortable with? And what's going to make you a little uncomfortable? Because I swear, being on that edge is what keeps you young, I mean,
Well, you're alive, the old hearts.
people know how old we really were and that we're not 19 something kids, I mean, but it's because we laugh a lot, we have fun, we do interesting things, we push ourselves. And it's just that I think it's getting, I don't know, I couldn't think of anything worse than dying on my couch,
But I can think of something worse than dying on your couch. It's acting like you're dying on your couch before you're gone. You're just sort of a lump there. I was talking to somebody not too long ago, and they had said something to the effect that there's a dent in their couch. Because that tells you either they bought a really, really cheap couch or they're there too much.
Yeah. The one other thing I was going to say is what really changed my life in the last decade was 365 days of writing what I'm grateful for every day.
Oh, good point.
When I look at people who, I don't complain. I rarely complain, because if I don't like something, I do something about it.
Yeah.
And you'll find the people with a zest for life, they don't complain. They're grateful for their health, no matter how good or bad it is. It's like, okay, yeah, do something about it. Stop complaining, do something, because there is something you can do. So being grateful for everything that happens. I mean, we live in a really rich country. I swear every Canadian should go to Haiti for a week to really.
I thought that all our kids in school, rather than some of the other things that we do, send them out to some place like that and see where the rest of the world's living. Because you're right, the appreciation and the gratitude. I kind of live the life of with my philosophy that, things can always be worse. People say they don't watch the news, and yet I'm thinking, when you do watch the news, you realize just how fortunate we are.
Oh, we're beyond fortunate. I mean, the things like, what I saw in Haiti, my driver made $150 a month. That was
a month, yeah.
And he was on call pretty much, and there was guns everywhere. And with $150 a month, he could afford a 2-room shack, not just a 1 room.
Yeah. So that put him in a different class from other people, right? So
we're talking shacks. We're not talking, flush toilets or
no indoor facilities, right?
No.
So your journal that you keep keeps you not necessarily humble, but keeps you conscious. I'm sort of thinking that there are an awful lot of people who really aren't conscious. They are going through the motions, like on the hamster wheel, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, and they're living to pay the bills, but they're not conscious of every day passing. Like, I can't believe that this year, as hard as it's been with COVID, is just racing by. It's just going so fast that, we don't have forever. And people who are waiting are one day going to be sitting on the couch like you're talking about, older, and realize maybe they've missed the opportunity because their health won't allow them. They put it off, and now their health says, oh, no, you don't.
Yeah, that's right. Wealth without health is worthless. So getting your pension, and when I was saying, people that retire and they got the golden pension, and that's all they've been working for 10 years, 11 months, and 2 days. they've got their pension, they actually die. They literally will die because they have nothing to live for.
Yes,
So,
I've heard that.
Well, waiting for your pension doesn't do anything. And it's just like, I believe also, we watch our parents and grandparents, die, and
Mm-hmm.
them getting, with Alzheimer's or dementia, or just being, 10 different pills that they take, and they're immobile. It's just like, that is you in 30 years if you don't do something, if you don't get fit, if you don't use it, and you'll lose it. And it's as much your brain as it is your physical thing. So it's
Right.
keeping everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And do it now. Like, you have no time to waste.
So what's the big message to get people to wake up? Like I said, as a teacher, you teach all the content, but they have to do the work. We have to do the work. So, like what we've talked about here isn't really new. People know this, but how do we get through to say, act now while you can? How do we get them to apply that knowledge that they know?
Yeah, for me, it was like, fast forward to, for some reason, it's always your best friend, your BFF, and you're on a rocking chair on a veranda, and you're 95 years old, and you're rocking back and forth, and you're talking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah.
Those woulda, coulda, shouldas are your dreams for today. So if you don't start working your way, like I've been in major debt for some of my life, and like I had 3 properties with 6 mortgages in 3 countries, which is a nightmare if you're trying to be independent of a soul destroying corporate job. So I had to have a plan to get out of debt before I could start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I started that probably a year before I actually can do a plan and goal and work that way, because the alternative was to stay and be miserable and have my life absolutely like, just horrible, where I hated every day. I hated the people I worked with. And so I had to have a plan to get out of debt and get out of there. So if you don't have a plan, if you don't start now, it'll never happen. The Chinese have a journey of 1,000 steps, of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Yes.
Just do that one step and do another step tomorrow and a third step. So that's all. You're not jumping to China tomorrow. You're just getting on your way to wherever you want to go. But
just do something every day. And it's accumulative, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and it's all, and once you get into action, it just becomes, well, that's my goal. I said April next year, and that comes up a lot faster than you think it is. And then come April, it's like, all right, as they say, shit or get off the pot, right?
Yeah, well, exactly, and it's here. Well, the thing is, we are going to be, like, right this day, today, we are going to be 1 year older this time next year, regardless. We don't have to do a thing. Time is marching on. We don't have to do a blessed thing. But 1 year from now, God willing and us able, we will be 1 year older. And if we're sitting in exactly the same place, then what's the value of the life you've lived?
That's right. What's going to be the change? What are you going to be excited about? What's going to get you up and motivated to face the day?
Right.
And I think, like you say, volunteering, doing something that, if you're feeling down, do something for somebody that is even downer than you are, and that'll raise you up.
Right, for sure.
What you want, it's putting in the taking that one step. I would say you have to take one step to figure out if you're going in the right direction, or you're doing the cha-cha-cha, going over here,
Exactly. Well, that's a good point. That's a point. Without a step, you're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah. So stop thinking and just start doing. That's it. Enough. Figure out and just do something. Go do something different. It's the only, like I say, living on the edge, I think, is if you're not scared of something that you do, that you're not trying hard enough, right? I mean, I've lived and failed. I've started enough businesses that didn't really go anywhere, but I tried.
Yeah, and you learn from it. You learn something from it.
You do, and you know what you don't want. So, like, hey, let's just keep going. And okay, that wasn't a success. Let's try this. Nothing is fatal. Nothing, and do it while you can. Exactly what you're saying is, don't wait, because you never know when something major could happen. Changes.
So, Patti, we're just about done here. Question for you: what's next for Patti Pokorchak?
Good question. And I'm in one of those contemplative things. As you know, I've just lost the love of my life, my big shaggy dog.
Yeah.
The first time in over 30 years I haven't had a dog.
Yeah,
So
that's hard.
That's but it's also it was because she was 70, 80 pounds. It wasn't like I could take her on planes and stuff, so that's why I did a lot of road trips. So I'm in a contemplative stage of my life. As long as I've lived in one place, 10 years now in my adult life. So it's like, okay, I got a little itchy feet. So who knows? I really don't know. I wish I'm there's no magic. I have to sit down and do the work myself and figure out where I want to go. Unfortunately, travel's not quite in the plans for right now.
Yeah.
But it is for next year. We'll see.
For sure. Well, I like what you said about being contemplative, because I think, not that I'm the expert by any means, but I think we need to become conscious of our life, what we're doing with it. It's a gift that we get up every day. We have this gift, and what do we do with it? And being contemplative is far more important than just being busy on a hamster wheel and not having a clue what you're doing with your own personal life, because it's our life. Once it's over, it's over. We shouldn't be totally consumed with living someone else's life. So live while you can. And Patti, you've been a prime example. You've written books, you've traveled, you're still raring to go. And if you, as a, I will say, former shy person can do that, then so can most people, but start with a plan. So thank you for sharing all of that. It's really, really good advice. You have the expertise to give that advice and to share that with us. So start now and live large. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode today. Thank you, Patti.
Thank you, Mary.
So again, I'm Mary McCartney, and this is Don't Die Before You're Dead. Until the next time, dare to live the life you were meant to live. Take care. Next time. Bye-bye.